All right, so today, start your notes by writing today's date, Monday, November 8th. I know I mentioned that we'd be taking a quiz shortly. I'm actually going to be pushing that quiz back, not this week, because this week is Veterans. We have Veterans Day this week, so it's going to be the following week. We'll take our first quiz. We'll do a review assignment on that Monday, and then we'll take a quiz on Tuesday of next week, and then continue on studying, and I will be back after Thanksgiving break. All right, so let's get started. So we talked about the 45, 45, 90 degree triangle last week. We're going to be talking about 30, 60, 90 degree triangles. So when we talk about a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle, we have a triangle with a 90 degree angle, a 60 degree angle, and a 30 degree angle. Right, so any 30, 60, 90 triangle, the hypotenuse is twice as long as the shorter leg, and the longer leg is the square root of 3 times as long as the short leg. All right, so in your notes, this is what I want you to write. I want you to write the title, right? So let's go ahead and highlight this. We're writing the title. And I want you to include everything that you see in this picture here, especially these two lines down here. Okay? So I'm going to write that. So I'm going to keep writing this. Another way, I'm just going to rewrite this in a different way, right? So our hypotenuse, remember that's going to be my longest side, is going to be 2 times my shorter side, my short leg. Right, so in this case, my short leg is right here. And the way we know that is my shortest side will always be across from the smallest angle. And in a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle, my smallest angle is going to be 30 degrees. So the side opposite 30 degrees will be the side we're talking about here. That's going to be my x. So my hypotenuse is twice as big as my short side. And my long side is going to be the square root of 3 times my short side. So if I want to say my long side is going to be the square root of 3 times my short. That is not an A, that's supposed to be an O. Short leg. Okay. So make sure you have those written in your notes. All right, so let's jump in our first example. All right, so we're going to finding the side lengths using a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle and a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So we're going to find the values of x and the values of y. All right, so we're looking for x equals, and we're going to have y equals. All right, so we're going to write your answer in simplest forms. All right, okay. So we're told the long side, remember, this is going to be my long leg, because that is opposite my 60 degree angle. So this is going to be my short leg. And here's my hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is across the 90 degree angle. Okay, so when we're talking about the long leg, let's I think, if you look at our equations here, so we have long side equals the square root of 3 times my short leg. So it's going to look something like this. If you want to find my short leg, I'm going to have my short leg equals, my short leg is just going to be x, right? Short leg is x. We have to multiply that by the square root of 3. Right, so that's this part right here. Short leg times the square root of 3. So my short leg is x. Multiplying that by the square root of 3. And that's going to equal my long leg. And my long leg is 9. Okay. All right, so let's solve for that. Let's solve for x. Right, we want to get x by itself, so we need to divide by the square root of 3. These go away, and we're left with x on the left-hand side. And we're going to be left with 9 over the square root of 3. Now, when you're dealing with radicals, you do not want a square root on the bottom of your fraction. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply. Let me rewrite this. We're going to multiply by 1, or the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. Right, so we'll have on top, 9 times the square root of 3 is going to be 9 times the square root of 3. And on bottom, we're going to have square root of 3 times the square root of 3. right? That would be like saying, I can rewrite this as the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is like saying, hey, inside we have 3 times 3, which would just be 3. So again, we want to simplify this. So we're going to get 3 times the square root of 3. So my answer for x is going to be 3 times the square root of 3. And we can check this too, right? So remember, again, this side is the 3 times the square root of 3. So if you multiply this, I'm going to go over here. 3 times the square root of 3, remember this is my short leg, times the square root of 3 equals my long leg. That's what the formula says. Right, so we have my short leg is 3 square root of 3. We're going to multiply that by the square root of 3. Is going to equal my long leg. Well, again, this is 3 times the square root of 3, right? So when we say this is like saying, hey, I can take that square root over everything, and we'll have 3 times 3 inside the square root equals long leg. This is like saying the square root of 3 times 3 is like saying the square root is going to be the square root of 9. The square root of 9 is just 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. We were trying to just double check our work, right? And so we ended up with 9, right? So yes, this works, right? Okay, so we found x, now we want to find y, right? And remember, if we go back to our formulas, that it's going to be, y is our hypotenuse, so our hypotenuse is going to be 2 times my short leg. So let's do this, right? We're going to write hypotenuse equals 2 times my short leg. So my hypotenuse is y. We have 2 times my short leg would be normally x, but we know x is 3 times the square root of 3. So we have y equals 2 times 3 is going to be 6 times the square root of 3. So y is this. We said that x was 3 square root of 3, and there is our answers. Okay. All right, so at this point, I want you to try example 2. Take a second, pause the video, and try example 2, right? You're trying to find the value of x and y. Okay, all right, so again, we have, remember if we're trying to find x, that's going to be, this is going to be my long side, because remember this is my 90-degree angle. And if this is 60 right here, so this has to be my 30-degree angle. So this is going to be my short leg, here's my long leg, and here is my hypotenuse. All right, so let's go for my long leg, right? So if we go back to my rule, my hypotenuse is going to equal 2 times my short leg. So we're actually going to be doing our short leg here. So we have my hypotenuse equals 2 times the short leg. Right, so let's go and plug it in, right? So my hypotenuse is 30, so it's going to be 30 equals 2 times, and my short leg is y. So if I want to solve for y now, this is 2 times y. So we're going to divide. So this goes away, so we're left with y equals 15. So my short side is going to be 15. My other rule was my long equals the square root of 3 times my short. Okay, all right, so my short side we just said was 15, so we can do long. My long side is x. I'm just going to go ahead and plug that in, right? So this is my long side, so x equals the square root of 3 times my short side, which in this case we said was 15. Right, so 15 times the square root of 3, right? We can't simplify that, so we're going to just be left with 15 times the square root of 3. Okay, and that's it. All right. So two basic ideas that we talked about in this. Oh, got one more example. Sorry. All right. So a tipping platform is a ramp used to unload trucks. How high in the end of an 80-foot ramp would when the tipping angle is 30 degrees and 45 degrees, right? So we have our picture here, right? We have our tipping angle. We're trying to figure out what is this length here when this angle here is going to be 30 and 45 degrees. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw a couple examples, right? So I'm going to draw a triangle here. We know my ramp is going to be 80 feet long. This is my hypotenuse. We're trying to find this length right here. So we'll call this x. And we'll start with the 30-degree angle, right? So if this is 30 degrees, this is going to be 60 degrees. Remember, my short side is going to be across from the 30-degree angle. So this now, in this example, is going to be my short side. So we already know that, hey, the hypotenuse is going to equal 2 times my short side. We know that the hypotenuse is 80. And my short side is going to be x. Right, so we have 2 times x, right? When we get that x by itself. So we're going to undo the multiplication by dividing. So we're left with x equals 80 divided by 2 is going to be 40. So if for 30 degrees, the height of the ramp is going to be 40 feet. All right. Give me 1 second. I'm just pulling up something from the notes from yesterday. Just wanted to double check. Okay, so now new example, right? So our new example is we have our triangle here because we're lifting this angle up to 45 degrees now. This is still 90 degrees. So if this is 45, my other angle has to be 45 because we're going to have 45 plus 45 plus 90 is going to equal 180. And this is still 80 feet. This is still my hypotenuse. And we're still trying to find this length here, right? So when we talked about a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, we said that our legs were going to be the square root of 2 times our legs, right? So our hypotenuse, this is the formula that we wrote down. The hypotenuse in a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, we're going to use this. It's going to be short times the square root of 2. Okay, so let's go and plug in our information, right? We said that the 80 was my hypotenuse, so we have 80 equals, my short leg is x, because that's what we're trying to find, times the square root of 2. So again, I'm trying to get this x by itself. So I have x times the square root of 2. We have to divide. These go away, so we're left with x on the right-hand side. We're going to need to simplify this because we don't want to square root on the bottom. So we have to multiply by the square root of 2 divided by the square root of 2. So on top, it's just going to be 80 square root of 2. But we have the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. That is like saying, it's going to pull this over here, right? Square root of 2 times the square root of 2. I can rewrite this so it says 2 times 2, which is just the square root of 4, which is just saying, hey, the square root of 4 is 2. So this is like saying, hey, 2 on bottom now, right? Again, we need to simplify. Right? We have 80 divided by 2. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this. So I'm going to put x on the left-hand side. And 80 divided by 2 is going to be 40 times the square root of 2. So my answer ends up being 40 times the square root of 2 is going to be the height for a 45 degree angle. Okay. All right, so make sure you have the two notes. Refer back to the notes from Friday. Make sure you have the formulas for 45, 45, 90, and you have the formulas for 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. I would highly recommend drawing the picture, right? So if you look back over here, make sure you draw this picture here. Have that in your notes somewhere. Oh, that's the example, sorry, this picture. Okay. If you have any questions, please send me an email, and enjoy your week. See ya. Bye.